They would lead the profession. I mean, we already have somewhat of a shortage in a lot of areas, and he's going to take away Medicare money with part of this too, and Medicare recipients would lose benefits. This is all part of a power grab. And, what does a government want to do that wants to achieve power? They control as much as they can control. And controlling healthcare would be a wonderful thing for them to control so they could have more opportunity to control our lives. The best way to get more affordable healthcare is to break up these big monopolies that are controlling the insurance industry and the hospitals. I talk to so many doctors who tell me, and they're barely making much money at all. They do well reasonably, but it's the hospitals that are grabbing so much of these dollars. And guess who's supporting Gavin Newsom? Some of these same hospital groups and insurance companies. So you always have to follow the money.
What's the strategy to win? You kind of are taking it to the people. You're doing radio shows. I don't hear Gavin Newsom on a lot of radio shows.
No, and he's been ducking debates. I agreed to do 5 debates. We ended up doing a short radio conversation in which we didn't talk about education, we didn't talk about homelessness, we didn't talk about water, we didn't talk about his health care plan. We talked about laws that were settled years ago, like on gay marriage, and prior statements that were made that have no relevance to today. And so
you should do more. You should talk with you more. Let's take homelessness. We're doing a special series on the station this year because it's such a problem and challenge. I mean, we have this story about typhus on our streets now. The illnesses are back. What can we do about this problem? What has gone wrong? What can we do right?
Well, it's a multifaceted problem. First of all, we've got to transition people off of substance abuse. So there's a lot of private agencies in California. I visited one up in Sacramento, St. John's Center, that takes homeless women off the street. It gets them clean and sober and then transitions them with education and work skill training, other things like that. That's got to happen on a massive scale. The money we're wasting on the train out in the Central Valley, we could be using to partner with a lot of these organizations. That's what I'd like to see happen. A lot of the homeless, Larry, are people who just are homeless because the cost of their rent has just gone up so much and they can't afford it anymore. And, there's a story I read that teachers in the Bay Area are living in RVs because they can't afford an apartment. We've got to build a lot more housing. I'm in the housing industry. That's what I do for a living. I build and own and manage apartments. I can build apartments in Indiana for $90,000 a unit that would cost 5 times that in California.
It's the regulation, the CEQA, the
Yes.
lawsuit abuse, all that?
It's the delay, it's the lawsuits, it's the mandates, it's impact fees. In some cases in California, the impact fees that local communities charged are more than it cost me to actually build a unit in Indiana. It's outrageous.
And if you can't build in a reasonable way, you can't charge a rent low enough for them to get it.
Exactly. Every investor wants a return on investment. So if it's costing you $450,000 to build a unit here, you've got to charge $2,000-3,000 a month in order to make it work. I'm building apartments for $90,000 in Indiana. I'm charging $800-900 a month, and I'm making money, and people are getting wonderful, affordable housing.
Which raises the initiative that has to do with rent control. That's kind of scary here.
Well, it's attacking a symptom. The symptom is the high rents, and so you're attacking it by putting on rent control. But as you know from treating diseases, you just can't keep attacking symptoms. You've got to get to the cause of the problem. The cause of our housing crisis is government mandates, delays, lawsuits, impact fees, approval process, the regulations. This is the cause that drives up the cost of housing. That's what's driving up rents. And if you just do rent control, you get less investment.
You have places, if they tell you you can't recoup, if this board sets the cap at a point where you can't crunch the numbers to pay for the place, you can't rent it. You got to sell it.
And not only that, if you have rent control and you've got somebody that's protected in your unit, are you as a landlord